Hello there, I'm Thomas Nyback. This is 365 Days Towards Racial Change. We're at day 281. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm in between semesters, so I've got some time on my hands to move this project along a little bit. We're going to spill over into 2020, which is quite all right. Now I'm seeing kind of the wisdom of the universe of all that. I could have pushed and, made it on the day and all that stuff. But racism, the position, orientation of people along color lines is a big issue, and 2020 for the planet is going to be an interesting year as the most powerful nation in the world. It's going to have to ask itself some pretty important questions and all that. I've posited one of my theses is any problem in America stems from America's issue with racism, how it promotes it. This is supposed to be the land that erases all of that stuff. But since its inception, you look at James Madison's notes; they're easy to find on the internet from the Philadelphia Convention, 1787. You see, black folks is the topic, but black folks aren't represented. Black folks aren't considered. Not black folks are less than human. All that language that James Madison in his notes took almost every day of that convention. That convention ran over 107 days. Two specific dates I don't have them off the top of my head right now were almost exclusively in his notes about black people. Right? It's always about us and making decisions for us and doing what's right for us, and you going in some back room to create some legislation that you think is fair, and like power does not. That's power's blind spot. Power's blind spot is thinking it's doing the best for those it perceives that are less than itself. You know, Unfortunately, because of that dynamic, power is encumbered in itself because it is unable to elevate the other above itself. I don't want to get too philosophical, but that's America's problem. That's what eats away at America, and you see America scrambling and trying to choose, and it has a lot of creative means and ways through amendments. Uh, Sensitivity about hate crime and other things, and using its past treatment on black folks as the way to shift the paradigm today for other cultures, sexes, genders, and all that. It's all modeled after the failed what do you say, the failed strategies towards black people. And it's a failed strategy because other racial groups, other genders, they keep their space. They do better when America takes time to protect them and all that. Black people get the lip service. You can't overtly oppress us and stuff like that anymore, but we don't get access to wealth and resources. Power group does not allow that to happen. And we are still. I've argued this in the past, right here in this forum, that there's a lot of ways in which black people are still the slave class in America. We're not too far from the mid 1800s. We're still going to look at Harry Beecher Stowe's work and slavery. We're not that far, you know. We're not that far, and then we don't have to go into a bunch of examples. I just have to ask you this question: Black folks and the power group, who self-determines their life? Who's making the decision? Who has the resources and the privileges to conduct, create, to be who they want to be in the world? I know I don't, right? For the longest time, you can look at me and say, well, he's strung out on crack. He's drinking, right? You're making poor choices in the system. Don't you know this is like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? Dave, you know, a Bob Ross painting where everything is beautiful, right? You know, listen, the times I've been sober, and I'm sober now, been sober since this project going on. I don't self-determine, so that's not a reason for me not self-determining myself and my life. Got plenty of outliers. We got the entertainer class. We got black people high up in politics. Yeah, we had a black president and all that, but that doesn't mean that slavery has really ended. You know, I have to go to a plantation of sorts, right? It takes my labor. And it gives me that place, gives me enough resources so I can come back the next day. I don't have enough resources to get a nice big building like I see when I'm moving on the train going through rural America. And it's like I'm looking across the space and then you see this housing community, but they aren't houses, they are buildings for one family. A couple days ago, I shared about looking at that and really meditating on that. So look, slavery's not far. The power group needs to contend with that. Black people and collectively need to get better at. We need to find a way to really turn some economics in our favor. I'm going to show you some resources from a man named Dr. Claude Anderson that promotes that. But we really got to come together, get it together, some kind of way eventually for us to come out from under. And on the flip side, the power group in America, they really need to back off, lay off, stop pretending that you are in favor of black prosperity, growth, uh, participation, being competitive in the American system. It's when America, you do right once and for all by black folks that some of this country's issues, I believe they'll dry up and disappear. But you can't legislate the heart of man. I could write amendments and laws and everything, but that's like putting a speed limit sign on the interstate. Everybody's going 10 miles over that. you know. I'm inspired to do this work by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. He's written a lot of books. I got a bundle from his website that I think got me on the right track, which we reference. We'll get back to after we finish up Uncle Tom's Cabin, punctuated by some current event issues and stuff like that. But get this book. If you only get one of his books, get this one. He suggests a lot of other stuff. I think he should push this one. This lights the fire. This gives you a cross section of all the things that have about black people, America, relationship with America, history, war, the future. A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. What an awesome book. He also wrote Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice. We'll look at some history, and he teases on at some ways to be competitive in America, issues on both sides of the fence. Black people, maybe not unified, lethargic, uneducated, some things against black folks as a group uh, that are that other groups have made successes out of, like the Vietnamese, Hmong, and stuff. It's coming out of my present plantation I'm working at. Saw a group of Asians, but um, they weren't. They were Vietnamese, I believe. Right? It's in and all together, getting down, yeah, unified. And Dr. Anderson's formal plan to empower Black America, Powernomics. Now, this book is it's dated now and stuff like that. Change for Black folks and stuff like that. It's got to be grassroots. It's going to happen over a long period of time. But that's a good foray into some solutions for Black America. And of course, not the only one. You can find Dr. Anderson here on YouTube. I think he started some daily posts again. He's recovering from some physical stuff. Wish him well. And also, you can find him at powernomics.com. That's where I got that bundle and stuff like that. If you ever talk to him, please tell him Tomlin's Nyback here at 365 Days mentioned his name. Oh, check out Black Enough, BLAGGNUF, kind of Black Facebook experience. If you have a business mind, check out the Black Business School. Dr. Boyce Watkins over there will get you started and on your way. Hashtag Us Too Symbol. That's Black women coming together, supporting one another, having their community, and focusing on their unique issues pertaining to Black women. And like I said, we are in story time. We're almost finished Uncle Tom's Cabin. Got a few more chapters to wrap up here. We used the book. It illustrates some things that went on then that still are going on now. So today, 281, chapter 40, the Martyr. And the Martyr, we have a lot of martyrs, right? If you are of the Christian faith, you can think about the apostles, right? Those that were close to Jesus. Tradition has them being martyred for for their faith. The martyr isn't just somebody that's killed off indiscriminately. The martyr is killed off, and their death becomes a symbol. The Christians would see Jesus as a martyr of the faith, and Christian faith has Peter being nailed to a cross and crucified upside down, and a lot of this stuff. We got people burned alive, this, that, and the other, but their death becomes a statement and a symbol, something to rally around. Remember the Mel Gibson, Braveheart, right? William Wallace and stuff, right? He was a martyr for his people. He believed that Scotland was free and stuff like that. So the King of England has him executed in painful ways and stuff like that. And so he becomes a martyr. His death is a symbol to resist or to believe in change to the point of even death. I'm going to even death will not break my will. Got Dr. Martin Luther King, I'd say definitely a martyr. Malcolm X, definitely a martyr. Oh, Medgar Evers, right? We got a lot of black names, black martyrs, right? And these are men and women who said no, right? Rosa Parks, maybe she wasn't killed off or anything like that, but she was arrested. And her child became a symbol for other black people to rise up and get the civil rights movement underway. Right, martyrs. Uh, Three men, right, down were murdered. Some of that Freedom Summer, I think it was. Two white boys and a black boy going down, working on voting rights, killed. Right, they're martyrs. Their death did not extinguish the message; it only emboldened it, and it gathered support, galvanized the issue in a real tangible way. That's what chapter 40 is about, because we're looking back at Tom, and they're going. Tom, Tom's not surprised. Tom, we find out in the story, Tom knows where they're at. Tom knows the plan, and I don't see in the story where that happened, but he knows. Harriet Beecher Stowe indicates that Tom knows. Legree believes Tom knows, and Legree, this is probably the first time Legree has not been able to find an escaped slave in his swamps. He's got to be scratching his head. They outsmarted the dogs, outsmarted him and his posse. So it's early the next day in the morning. Tom is in prayer, no doubt, because he knows this is going to eventually come back around to some hard questions and decisions he's going to have to make, right? Um, he's going to use eventually Sambo and Quimbo to break Tom and abuse Tom even more. But first, Legree can't find Cassey and Emmeline. He's pissed off, and it's the next day, and Cassie's looking out the hole from the attic at the group. Legree dispenses brandy because this is like a holiday. She's like, well, they definitely can't be more than a day in the swamp doing well in the damps in the swamp. Ugh, I can't even think of it. Huh. I mean, the swamp, it's shallow water, vegetation, everything grows and bugs. So yeah, he says that they can't be doing that well. Brandy, everybody, because he wants to be like a holiday. And he's had a night to brood, so his wrath is kindled even more towards Cassey. The instructions are still, it's okay to shoot her, save Emmeline if you can, because that's his fresh slave, sex slave concubine that he rapes. I said last time, Emmeline still has this relationship with God, and she's not been corrupted or disillusioned by what she's been taught about God versus the behavior of the white power establishment. So she's coming with God at Cassey for forgiveness and God stuff and all the stuff that Emmeline is conditioned with. You gotta be careful with religion and God. Don't it's a journey you got to make yourself. I know I'm old enough and been through some situations where I know when somebody's trying to use God to manipulate me. You know, God said this, or the Bible says, therefore I have to act in a way in accordance with what this human being is trying to manipulate me into doing. That's a I had to be hurt a lot to get out of that, to where I have a relationship with God, but it's my relationship, and nobody tells me about. I can read. I have my own relationship, right? I don't have anybody in between me and God anymore. No, we'll fellowship together, bring our Godness together, and have community. But I don't have any leader, and I don't have any doctrine that puts me at a disadvantage to other people anymore. I make the decisions because of my relationship with God, and that's where Cassie's at. I don't think Cassie's an absolute atheist, but she's had to endure and battle and stuff, right? And she's heard Tom, right, right. She's hearing Emmeline. So somehow there's a reality, there's a truth about God being presented to Cassey. Um, but it ain't going to be some kind of condition that she's beholden to just because they say. You know, she's like, whoa, man, got people at me sexually and stuff like that. Where we gotta slow this thing down a little bit. Where am I at? I need to find out where I'm at with God in whatever form. I bet you everybody, any spiritual path, people are going to have to go through that. Or if they haven't, then I believe they're slated to. They should, right? No matter what you believe, if you are beholden to a leader and stuff like that, the leader that's the training wheels, the crutches to get you to the point of your own understanding. So then your life, your unique life, there's only one of you, can go forward. Emmeline's not been corrupted. Cassie's listens politely, but she doesn't want to, she's not committed. And she's not an atheist. I don't think she is totally cast off religion. Posse returns empty handed. Legree's like, I'm getting that, Tom, because somebody's got to pay. I got the power to make somebody pay, even if I'm wrong. That's power, right? That's how power manifests. Even if I'm wrong, I have omnipotent. I'm the potentate in this space, and I could burn the whole thing down if I wanted to, and not be touched. I need to deal with the one person that's given me the most resistance lately, and that's Tom. He sends Quimbo and after him, Quimbo, Sambo after him, and Legree even mentions Tom was going to be your overseer. Oh boy, isn't that like throwing gasoline on a fire? Because these two hate each other already, and now Legree purposefully says, that guy you're going to grab, I was going to put him over you, you know. So they're brutal, manhandling Tom out of the field and stuff. Um, Tom is thinking, boy, I know those girls are just right up there in that attic. I could see Tom like he doesn't even face the house, and he's looking down. He doesn't even look at the house because He doesn't want to betray uh, those two escaped girls right there. They're on the plantation, but instead they've essentially escaped, right? And he doesn't want to betray them or do that. He also knows there's going to be consequences. Legree believes Tom knows the deal. Tom's is resigned to his fate because Legree has already crossed the line, and Tom's exasperated anyway and is prepared, resigned to his fate. I get like that. You ever get like that? You're like, man, you can have it. This last job, this job I'm on now, I got it when I threw my hands up because stuff kept falling apart and people I can't get in contact. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care if I never make another dime in my life. Universe, you got this because I'm at a loss. I'm exasperated. It's how same way the country was created though. What's the letter? It says, uh, we got to get out, essentially get out from under this English rule because we're exasperated. We got no representation and all that. So this happens to people. Tom's exasperated already. So he's been beaten. He knows about the burnt tree out back and that mysterious thing and the warnings and stuff. Angry white man. Whatever, man. I think about, some of the slaves who had minds to think, who resisted. And what I say, like, not all compliant. We can't um, send indictments against the slaves who committed themselves to being submissive in the system. You don't know how you're going to respond, you know. But there were, I'm sure there was that group of slaves that were like, this fundamentally is not right. It might not be the language they use, but they're exasperated, right? I want to live in a big house. I want my family intact. I want my wages. Shoot, I want to go to town once in a while. I don't want to work 7 days. I'm exasperated. Whip me, dogs, whatever. It'll be painful, but I'm going to a better place or no place at all. Doesn't matter. I'm out of here. I'm not submitting to you for another second. You look at one of the first things I ran across on Frederick Douglass's writings was his narrative, his eyewitness to a slave being shot point blank in the face because the slave was just through, through listening and submitting and stuff. So the penalty, he gets shot in the face, but he's dead. He doesn't have to work anymore. Peace. you know, that's Tom's position. Legree threatens death. Tom's at peace. You can't touch Tom anymore. Tom confesses. He's like, you know what? I know a little something about this. I'm not telling you a damn thing. Legree is undone. Uh, well, you think about Nebuchadnezzar when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego say, whatever, bruh, about your little furnace. We ain't bound down to nothing. And the Bible says that Nebuchadnezzar's countenance changed. He was just beside himself. Oh boy. Tom even goes into some language about forgiveness and things like that. And Legree, just so mad. You're so mad. It's like, it ain't about fighting. You just can't hit the thing hard enough. I can imagine he just beat Tom down. Just and you know, So Legree has just he's through. His women, right, has run off. This black slave is resisting me in front of the party. That's some heavy stuff. Like you gotta appreciate the scene. Slaves don't stand up to white power like that. Slaves don't run off and uh, under these circumstances successfully. What? Yeah, that is. And Tom is like, yeah, I get like that sometimes. Do what you want, bro, because I'm going to make my statement, and you just got to live with it. I'm gonna live with whatever you got, whatever power you think you got, but I'm going to make my statement. So to Tom, Tom's very powerful in that way. They mess with his God. He knows um, this dysfunction, immorality. That Legree is just a filthy base man. Tom's like, I, I, I don't want to be here anyway, even if that means my spirit has to depart my body. I can't. I think that's some of Tom's thinking as well. Yeah, glory to God and Jesus, forgiveness, and all that. But I'm sure there's a part of Tom in Tom's humanity, in Tom's psyche, in his flesh that's like, this is a smelly, white, brutal, base man with way too much power, and I'm sick of it. I know good masters, at least, right? If we're accepting slavery, the institution, Tom knows good white men. This guy is the embodiment of abuse and evil, and Tom doesn't want any part of it. He doesn't care anymore. I'm way over time. I don't want to hold you hostage. Come back again. We're going to talk about some other things, kind of punctuate this a little bit before we wrap up the book. I am Thomas Nyback. That's day 281 out of the way, 365 days towards racial change. You come back and see us again now. You hear?